No, because this is unacceptable. Can you guys tell I'm insane? What? I hate a hardcover. My Libby hold for this book is astronomical. Not a single word was said right. Happy fall, everyone. Welcome to my channel. My name is Maddie, and today I'm going to be showing you a fall book haul. Now, is it technically fall yet? I don't think so, but it's September. There's a chill in the air. Leaves are falling on the ground, and most importantly, pumpkin spice is back at Dunkin'. So let's pretend, shall we? When I think of fall reading, I first think of thrillers. I also think of fantasy because there's nothing like reading fantasy on a rainy day. And also fiction, literary fiction, general fiction, whatever. I'm not thinking of romance, but you can definitely read romance. And so those are exactly the type of books I will be showing you today. Well, except for fantasy, I only have one fantasy to show you. But most of the fantasy books I'm interested in reading are on Kindle Unlimited, so I don't need to buy them. And just a disclaimer, you don't have to explain yourself to me if you spend all of your money on books. But I do feel like I need to explain myself because not everybody loves a book haul. I just want to let you guys know, if more than 10 people are watching this, I don't just go into a bookstore and buy every single book I've ever thought of reading or want to read. I'm very strategic about it. I go into bookstores often because if there's a bookstore, I'm gonna walk into it, but I don't always come out with something every time. I just like to visit them and browse. But with all of these books, I have genuinely thought about these books for months, and one of them, years. So I figured it was finally time to buy them, and I will actually get to these books soon because I do associate them with the season as we move into fall, and I'm a mood reader, so these are all books that I want to read soon. They have been on my mind. Oh, look at my cute little sweater. Okay, let's start with the one fantasy book I purchased, and that is The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy. I just realized I willingly bought 3 hardcovers. Who is she? I hate a hardcover, but honestly, I've been loving them lately, and I decided to get the hardcover in this book because otherwise it would have that export edition sticker like that. I have been purchasing more books with that export edition sticker. It's not a sticker, it's part of the book cover, and it's because I'm currently living abroad. You know, those books have been growing on me too, because if I want to read the book, you kind of just gotta get over it, Maddie. But that is the reason I purchased this hardcover, because if I can avoid that little spot on the cover, I'm going to. My friend Riley told me about this book, and it's been on my radar ever since she visited me here in Amsterdam. Miss you, girl. And the only thing I know about this without reading you the summary, which I will do, is that this was originally Draco and Hermione fanfiction. And it has since been traditionally published. Obviously, a lot has been changed. The names are different, the setting is different, but the characters have very similar traits to those of Hermione and Draco. And the only Draco-Hermione fanfiction I've ever read, what is their ship name? Hermione? I feel like I'm saying that wrong. The only fanfiction I've read about them is Manacled, and I love that. More on that later. This is what it says. I'm looking at all the words I don't know how to pronounce. Fantasy books are rough. Loyalties are tested in this slow burn, enemies to lovers, romantasy, falling an assassin and a healer forced to work together to cure a fatal disease while resisting the urge to kill each other, or worse, fall in love. That sounds like a 5-star read to me, honestly. When Osric Mordaunt, member of the Fyren Order of Assassins, not a single word was said right, falls ill, he realizes he needs the expertise of a very specific healer. As fate would have it, that healer belongs to an enemy faction, the Halen Order. Arion? Fairrim and her fellow Halen are inundated by sick children suffering from an outbreak of a previously long forgotten pox. Unable to get the funding needed to launch an immunization program, the Halen Order is desperate for money. So desperate that when Osric breaks into their headquarters to bribe Arion to heal him, she is forced to accept. As Osric and Arion work together to solve not only his illness but the mysterious reoccurrence of the pox, they find themselves ardently denying their attraction, which only fuels the tension between them. It's book 1! It's a duology! I don't know what it was originally called. This may have been the original title when it was a fan fiction. But guys, come on, that sounds good. Don't lie to yourselves, that sounds good. If you like romantasy, that is. Now back to the fan fiction I talked about, Manacled. That is actually being traditionally published as well. And I don't have a copy to show you in this video because it doesn't come out until September 23rd. But I pre-ordered it months ago in April. And the new title for it, since it's been published, is called Alchemized. The Waterstone Special Edition is gorgeous. I'll include a picture right here to show you, but I just wanted to talk about that book because that is also another fall themed book. But I will say that is more of a dark romantasy. Let's jump into some thrillers, the stars of the show, truly. The first book that I've debated reading for years is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. And this is the fall that I actually do it. Now, I guess this is technically a dark academia psychological thriller. And was nobody gonna tell me it's 600 pages? I was going to read it. This is one of the original like popular BookTok books that I never got around to reading. And honestly, it sounds really intimidating, but I know Heather McLary raves about it. She's going to reread it this fall and I want to figure out if I like it or not. This is what it says. Under the influence of their charismatic classics professor, a group of clever, eccentric misfits at an elite New England college discover a way of thinking and living that is a world away from the humdrum existence of their contemporaries. But when they go beyond the boundaries of a normal morality, their lives are changed profoundly and forever. What? Genuinely, that gave me nothing. I have read Dark Academia before. Oh, Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. And I liked it, but it wasn't my favorite. So hopefully this will change my mind about Dark Academia. And I was torn between buying this one and If We Were Villains. Let me know if I should read this one or If We Were Villains. Because I don't know. I don't read that much Dark Academia. Then we have a book I already read, and that is Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson. Holly Jackson is the author of the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, a series that I love. Not many people do. A lot of people have mixed opinions about the third book in the series. I loved it. And when I actually started reading this book, I realized that I've read everything that Holly Jackson has published. So I think Holly Jackson is technically one of my favorite authors, one of my favorite thriller authors. And after reading this book, I mean, yeah, I would agree with that. I gave this book 4 stars. I read it within 2 days. Once I read you the summary, you're gonna want to go pick this book up. In 7 days, Jet Mason will be dead. Jet is 27 years old. Having never left Woodstock, Vermont, she's still waiting for her life to begin. I'll do it later, she always says. She has time. Until, on the night of Halloween, Jet is violently attacked by an unseen intruder. She suffers a catastrophic brain injury. The doctor is certain that within a week she'll be killed by a severe aneurysm. Jet never thought of herself as having enemies, but now she looks at everyone in a new light. Her family, her ex-best friend turned sister-in-law, her former boyfriend. She has just 7 days, and as her condition deteriorates, she has only her childhood friend Billy for help. But nevertheless, she's absolutely determined to finally finish something. Jet is going to solve her own murder. And I have to say, I may just be dumb, but it shocked me who the killer was. Also, I think I mentioned this in a recent reading vlog of mine, but Holly Jackson does this amazing thing, and maybe it's just me who thinks this, but she writes likable main characters. And that is so hard to do in a thriller. Normally you have an unreliable narrator, they're super unlikable, or you're following like a serial killer in a thriller. And with the main characters in here and with the main characters in A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, she makes you feel attached to these characters. And that is almost impossible to do in a thriller. But with the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, I still think about those characters, especially because there was a little romance and there's a little sprinkle of romance in here as well. I don't know, I just can't think back to any thrillers and remember the main characters' names, but I remember the main characters' names from this one and her other series. This is not a series though, this is just standalone. Okay, and then the next book is another one of my favorite thriller authors, Don't Let Him In by Lisa Jewell. I've rated a lot of Lisa Jewell books highly, but I also did hate None of This Was True by her, which is a very unpopular opinion. You know what, that was just one book that I didn't enjoy by her, so I will continue to give her a chance. And I always read her books, again, in a day or two. I remember Taylor Tippett got the arc for this and loved it. I'm second guessing myself, maybe she didn't, I don't know. I'll put her Goodreads review on here if I'm right. And I've had my eye on it since then, but Okay, I'm about to go on a rant. So if you don't care, skip to this point right here and I'll continue showing you the rest of the haul. This book is the reason that I finally caved and bought all of these books. This book reminded me that I will not be able to read this before the end of the year unless I physically buy it or buy it on my Kindle, because my Libby hold for this book is astronomical. Like, I'm definitely not getting it before the end of this year, but I'm also not sure that I would receive it next year because I'm number 1 million in line. And all of these books right here that I have are on hold at the Libby app, but it's a whole ordeal. So this is what happened. Let's break it down. So if you have a library card and you use the Libby app, you may know, or you may not know, honestly, that you can smart tag new releases. And what that means is if your local library doesn't have a physical copy of the book yet, or like a digital file for an e-reader, if you smart tag it, they will notify you when they have a copy in their hands, and they will let you know when you can place yourself in line for that book. So if you smart tag something, it will send you a push notification if you have your notifications turned on, and it will say, your library has a copy of it, don't let him in, join the line. So you place a hold for that book, and it's not technically out yet because they won't release it to you until the release date if they got it a few weeks early, but it basically guarantees that you will get the book right away if you run to that Libby app and place the hold. When I've done this before, I've been number 1 in line and it's worked out perfectly, and I don't have to buy a new release. And you know what? I actually was number 1 in line for this book, and 2 more books I'm about to show you. But then my library card expired and it wasn't going to let me borrow those books on my Kindle because I couldn't renew my library card. I'm currently living abroad, and for my library, you had to go in to renew your card, prove your address, and I don't have a US address anymore, so I physically couldn't do that. I'm making this all very dramatic, but if you are a reader, you probably relate to this. So then my mom said she would help me and get a library card where she lives, and with that, I could access their digital library again on Libby. But by that point, I was at the back of the line for all of these holds. Can you guys tell I'm insane? From that clip right there, you can tell that I genuinely think about books all the time, and like when I'm purchasing books, and a lot of thought goes into me buying these books because, believe it or not, like this bookshelf begs to differ, I am very frugal. And I was always very frugal growing up, and when I had a job in high school, I would put money into my savings, and I actually thought it was illegal to take money out of your savings. I had to justify buying these books in my head, and honestly, between my library card expiring and none of them being on Kindle Unlimited, I felt justified in buying all of these. So like I was saying, I've read a few thrillers by Lisa Jewell and really enjoyed them. This is what the summary says for this one. Okay, unpopular opinion, I love these huge UK paperbacks. This is a US paperback, this is UK. Some UK editions are smaller in dimensions, like The Secret History. It technically is a UK publisher, but that one is actually shorter than my normal US paperback edition. So how is this a UK edition and this is also a UK edition? I don't know, but I love the bigger ones. Something about it, I love him. He's the perfect man. He says he loves you. You think he might even be made for you. Before long, he's moved into your house and into your heart, and then he leaves for days at a time. You don't know where he's gone or who he's with, and you realize if you looked back, you'd say to yourself, don't let him in. That sounds so good. We'll let you guys know my thoughts on this in upcoming videos, so make sure you're subscribed. I actually have one more thriller to show you, and it's technically a psychological thriller, and that is Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey. Why do I keep thinking Matthew McConaughey wrote this? No, babes. Charlotte. Dominic Salt and his 3 children are caretakers of Shearwater, a tiny island not far from Antarctica. Home to the world's largest seed bank, Shearwater was once full of researchers, but with sea levels rising, the salts are now its final inhabitants. Until during the worst storm the island has ever seen, a woman mysteriously washes ashore. Isolation has taken its toll on the salts, but as they nurse the woman, Rowan, back to strength, it begins to feel like she might just be what they need. Rowan, long accustomed to protecting herself, starts imagining a future where she could belong to someone again. But Rowan isn't telling the whole truth about why she set out for Shearwater. And when she discovers sabotaged radios in a freshly dug grave, she realizes Dominic is keeping his own secrets. As the storms on Shearwater gather force, they all must decide if they can trust one another to protect the precious seeds in their care before it's too late. and if they can finally put the tragedies of the past behind them to create something new together. I don't know if I care that much about the seeds, sorry, but I mean, if there's a crazy twist in here, I'm sad. Then we have a book that I have genuinely been meaning to buy since April, because this came out the same day as Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry, but I haven't been able to find a copy here, so I finally ordered one online. Taylor Tippett, I think I've mentioned her twice. Her and Heather McLary are my favorite booktubers. She got an ARC of this book, and it's one of her new favorite books of all time. And recently I actually saw Sarah Caroli read this, and I believe she gave it 5 stars too. Here is the summary. Why is the sun? What is the sun doing? I look like Edward Cullen. Okay, I'm done being a YouTuber. Let's try this again. Ryan and Lillian Bright are deeply in love, recently married, and now parents to a baby girl, Georgette. But Lillian has a son she hasn't told Ryan about, and Ryan has an alcohol addiction he hasn't told Lillian about. So Georgette comes of age watching their marriage rise and fall. When a shocking blow scatters their fragile trio, Georgette tries to distance herself from reminders of her parents. Years later, Lillian's son comes searching for his birth family. So Georgette must return to her roots, unearth her family's history, and decide whether she can open up to love for them or herself while there's still time. Told from 3 intimate points of view, The Bright Years is a tender, true-to-life novel that explores the impact of each generation in a family torn apart by tragedy, but, over time, restored by the power of grace and compassion. Sounds like this is going to be a very emotional read, but I personally love an emotional story. And then we have a book that I've been flirting with at the American Book Center for months. It has been sitting in this bookstore's new fiction section for 2 months, and every time I'm there, I walk by it and I consider buying it. But this past weekend was the time I actually bought it. I first heard about this book through a friend on Goodreads that I went to college with. She gave this book 5 stars, and we read a lot of the same things, so I put it on my Goodreads want to read list. This is what it says. Adela Woods is 16 years old and pregnant. When her parents discover her secret, they banish her from prep school and her elite swim team in Indiana and send her to her grandmother's home in Padua Beach, Florida. In Florida, Adela befriends Emery, who brings her newborn to high school, determined to graduate despite the odds. Simone, mother of 4-year-old twins, who weighs her options when she finds herself pregnant again, and the rest of the girls, a group of young moms who raise their growing brood in the back of Simone's red truck. Swept into a world that upends the rules she has always known, Adela flirts with an older man, tests the bonds between the girls, and seeks an answer to a question she is only just beginning to ask. What kind of mother will she be? Told through 3 young mothers' voices, The Girls Who Grew Big depicts the shifting sands of these friends' secrets and betrayals, and confirms Layla Motley's promise by offering an explosive new perspective on what it means to be a young woman. That's not all, don't worry. I ordered one more book, but I purchased it secondhand, so it will be here in the next few days, and I will talk about it in the next clip. Why is it so dark in here? The book that I ordered secondhand arrived this morning, and it is The Missing Half by Ashley Flowers. If you don't know who Ashley Flowers is, she's, well, 1, an author, duh, and 2, she is the host of the podcast Crime Junkie, which I don't think I ever actually listened to. I did listen to a few crime podcasts back in the day, but I don't think I ever listened to hers. So I forget how I even heard that she was writing a book, but when her debut novel All Good People Here came out, I read it and I really enjoyed it. I think I gave it 4 stars and I was really impressed. I think the only reason I gave it 4 stars is because it did feel like it slowed down a little bit, but the ending completely shook me and it gave me that like spooky, eerie feeling at the end. So if you're looking for a thriller this fall, I definitely recommend her first book, All Good People Here. This one has been out for a few months, and you know I've been thinking about it for a while because this is actually on my 25 books I want to read in 2025 reading journal spread. Here is the summary. Nicole Nick Monroe is in a rut. At 24, she lives alone in a dinky apartment in her hometown of Mishawaka, Indiana. What? She's just gotten a DWI and she's been working the same dead-end job since high school. A job she has only because her boss is a family friend and feels sorry for her. Everyone has felt sorry for her for the last 7 years, since the day her older sister Casey vanished without a trace. On the night Casey went missing, her car was found over 100 miles from home. The driver's door was open and her purse was untouched in the seat next to it. The only real clue in her disappearance was Jules Connor, another young woman from the same area who disappeared in the same way 2 weeks earlier. But with so little for the police to go on, both cases eventually went cold. Nick wants nothing more than to move on from her sister's disappearance and the state it's left her in. But then one day, Joel's sister, Jenna Connor, walks into Nick's life and offers her something she hasn't felt in a long time: hope. What follows is a gripping tale of two sisters who will do anything to find their missing halves, even if it means destroying everything they've ever known. It's under 300 pages, and I really enjoyed your first book, so if you're looking to try out a new author, highly recommend. And that is it for my book haul. If you see me in a bookshop before the end of the year, kindly escort me out. Thank you guys so much for watching this fall book haul, and if you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below. I post a new bookish video every week, and I hope you'll stick around. Bye!